Good morning, everyone. It's great to have you with us. I'm Aaron Gillette, the Director of Marketing here at BLOX Digital, and I'll be emceeing today's webinar. With me are Dave Hantz, our Director of Sales Engineering, and Phil Pracht, Director of Core Platforms. We're excited to show you a whole new application for BLOX CMS that's going to change the way you cover each and every voting event in your communities. BLOX Elections Stats transforms every election into an engaging experience for your audience from the campaign kickoff to the final vote tally. Dave and Phil will walk you through how this solution makes covering local elections, school referendums, ballot initiatives, and more not only easy, but impactful. You'll learn how to build and monetize compelling election pages that keep your audience engaged all year round. Feel free to drop any questions you have into the chat as we go along, and we'll tackle them at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Dave and Phil to take you through the ins and outs of election stats. Over to you guys.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on this webinar. We're really excited to talk about this new platform. But before we do that, we kind of want to talk through some of the agenda, what we have kind of planned. So we'll dive into how our election stats platform can transform your election coverage. We'll start with a broad look at the election stats platform, discussing its key features and how it can really simplify and enhance election coverage for you all. We'll explore the easy to use features that integrates seamlessly with your existing content, our dynamic monetization opportunities that are available to you all, and of course our capabilities for year-round coverage. Next, after that, Dave Hantz here will walk you through the live demonstration of the election stats in action. So you'll get to see firsthand how to set up and customize election races, candidate profiles, and issues, as well as create and customize election blocks on your site. So with this, you'll see firsthand how seamlessly everything operates within the BLOX CMS ecosystem. This demo, of course, will give you a practical understanding of how our election stats platform works and how it can be tailored to fit your specific needs. And in fact, I want to mention this now. We do have documentation and help videos on our site that will help guide you through even more so beyond this. If you want to take a next step, you'll be able to reference those materials as well. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the Q&A session where you're welcome to ask any questions you may have about the platform, specific features, integrations, processes, or anything else that happens to come to mind. This is a great opportunity to address any of those specific concerns or curiosities that you may have about the platform. Just enter those in the chat here, and Aaron will actually relay those back to us when the time comes. So we'll begin first on the easy to use features. So I'd love to give you just a brief overview of some of the fantastic features of election stats, designed to, again, elevate your coverage while making it easy and impactful for your readers as much as possible. So first off, election stats is all about flexibility and integration. Here at BLOX Digital, we do pride ourselves on our platform's integration with the various products and solutions we offer. And election stats is certainly no exception to that. Imagine seamlessly combining your existing content like videos, polls, and articles with fresh assets on candidates, races, and issues now. This means you can enrich your stories without missing any beats. So updating your election stats content really couldn't be simpler. It's very similar to BLOX today, whether it's pulling in the latest results via even an AP feed, importing data through CSVs, or entering information manually. We've streamlined this process to save you and your staff time and effort. And to meet your data requirements, we've already actually pre-configured some parsers for AP, News Ticker, and BTI to ensure that data is continuously updated and seamlessly integrated directly into BLOX. And it's all about control. With our intuitive blocks that come pre-packaged with this new product, you decide exactly where and how your election information appears on your site. So if you want to deep dive on election pages or maybe sprinkle widgets through different articles, you got it. Configuring your site with election content is really just a few clicks away. In fact, Dave is going to show you a little bit more about that in just a moment. So moving on to monetization, which, let's be honest, is absolutely crucial. Election stats isn't just a powerful tool for coverage. It's also a great revenue generator. Think sponsorships. This is a prime opportunity to partner with brands and companies that want to be associated with authoritative election coverage. Local advertising can also see a big boost. Targeted ads can drive sales, of course, by reaching the audience most interested in local outcomes. Then, of course, lastly, there is that programmatic advertising, fully managed, turnkey solutions that maximize your revenue without you having to lift a finger during those, of course, busy election times. So programmatic, we also have the Yield Up program that you'd be able to leverage and combine into this as well, that make it just so much easier, to set and forget, all turnkey. And then, of course, we've actually priced this product very reasonable. We are sure that you'll be able to make up for anything quickly with an advertiser or a sponsor. This is so easy to come across and so easy to implement as well, that there's nothing really to stop you. And then, of course, let's not forget traffic spikes during the election seasons. With election stats, you can really capitalize on these increases in viewership to further enhance your ad revenues. The last thing I want to point out here is year-round coverage. It's really important. Let's talk about it. Election stats isn't just for presidential elections. It is a versatile tool that enhances your coverage of all kinds of races, in referendums, national, local primaries, student elections, judicial, municipal, even school boards and ballot initiatives. All of these are kind of work and are adaptable into the platform itself. Combined with our compelling, we feel, election widgets, your audience isn't just informed, they're engaged. They'll likely have reasons to come back, not just during the election season, national election season, but all year round. So this consistent engagement, we believe, does help build loyal audience base and opens up more monetization opportunities for you all. But what I hope my talking about has accomplished here has made it clear that this platform is a powerful tool designed to help you all cover your elections, all year long. Again, from national to local to school referendums and beyond, this platform solution offers comprehensive real-time data, customizable widgets, and interactive features that can be seamlessly integrated into your BLOX site. Now, I realize I've been talking about this platform. I can only really do so much. So I am going to pass it over to Dave Hantz, who will give us a hands-on demonstration of how the Election Stats platform works in action.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at what we're looking at with Election Stats. So what you're looking at right here is the election results page. So there's one election result on here. It's the fictitious mayor for the city of Bloxville. You're going to notice that a lot of these races that we look at in this webinar here are sort of silly, and they deal with a fictional town of Bloxville and employees that work here at BLOX Digital. But don't let that distract you from the power of the platform. So here we've got one race on our page right now. We're going to dive into how that was created, how we can update it, and how we can create some additional races and candidates. One thing I do want you to pay attention to, though, as Phil mentioned, sponsorships are a huge part of the revenue opportunity here. You're going to see some ads pop up on these election results pages. They're all brought to you by BLOX University. That's what you'll see here. So you'll see some different iterations of those ads. Just know that those could be any sponsorship that you want them to be. So let's go ahead and let's take a look here. Let's go into the BLOX admin, and we're going to go to the application menu, and we'll go down to election stats. So you can see we've got some races, or a race and some candidates in there. Let's go ahead and create a new race from scratch. So let's go ahead and in here, we'll give it a title. And this will be the very super serious. You can see a couple of things are required here, but the very super serious Bloxville Alderman race with 3 open seats. So there's that. A couple of these things are required. We'll go back and address those in a second. Let's put our description in here. There's Alderman race, 3 seats. And then let's go ahead and add the election year of 2024 and the election level, community. Then it's not required, but let's go ahead and set this to general for the election type. Now notice we leave the date and time blank. We'll address that in a little bit, but let's set the number of winners to 3. Remember that it doesn't have to be a binary choice in a race. So we'll go ahead and assign a section tag here. And we're going to talk more about this later, but for right now, let's go ahead and assign the section tag manually. And we'll choose election results. So there we go. There is our first race. So let's save that. Now let's add some candidates to that race. So we'll come in here. The first one we're going to create manually. So we'll go down to candidate and we'll create our first candidate here. Brad Ward is who we're going to use. That's our CEO here at BLOX Digital. I have a feeling he has a good chance of winning one of the alderman races. So we'll add his mugshot here. There we go. And then we can go ahead and assign a section. Now, this is where we could assign a party affiliation, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but there's the options. We'll just leave it at election results. This being a alderman race, we're not going to get into the party affiliation here, so we'll just leave that the way it is. Save and close. And then let's go and add the rest of our candidates. Now, they were already created in the system, but they're created the same way. Let's filter to just candidates. And then let's add the rest of our folks here. So Rick Rogers, Sinead Steele, Becky, Betsy, and Phil. Let's go, fingers crossed, Phil. Let's go ahead and add them in there. So there are all of our candidates, 6 candidates, 3 winners. We'll go ahead and save that. And then let's take a look at what the preview looks like. So what this looks like on the front end. There we go. So there are all of our candidates in our alderman race. You can see they all have 0% of the vote. And if you'll notice at the very top, our election is set to be TBA because we didn't add a date and a time. But let's go rectify that. So back into the admin, and let's just choose a date of, let's say today, and let's choose a time. Let's see, most polls open 7 o'clock. Let's just choose that. So then we'll hit save. And we can go refresh our preview. And then you'll see that that gets added to our race. So there it is. Election begins 5/9/24 at 7 a.m. All right. So let's go back here and let's go ahead and mark who the incumbents are. So we'll say Brad, Rick, and Sinead are the incumbents. Again, we'll save, go refresh our preview. And you can see that those candidates are now marked as incumbents. All right, enough is enough. Let's go ahead and start adding votes. Now, one thing I want to talk about here is that right now, everything that we do is going to be manual manipulation in the admin here in this demo. As Phil said, it is possible to set up parsers with AP, BTI, news ticker. So if you have larger elections where you have feeds with those results coming in, this is not something that you would have to do. The vote tallies would update automatically, but we're going to do this manually just to see how it works, the other option. So let's go ahead and give Brad, I don't know, he is my boss's boss, so we'll give him 100 votes. Rick gets 60 votes. Sinead gets 65 votes. Becky, 20, not a great showing for Becky, 25. We'll give Betsy 90 votes, and Phil, feeling good about this, Phil, 94 votes. 94 votes for Phil. So let's go ahead and save, and then let's go see what this looks like on the front end. So we'll refresh our preview again, and there are our votes. Oh, looks like Sinead's got 0. I must have clicked off too soon. Let's go ahead and go back, and let's add some votes to Sinead. There she is. Let's give her, I do not remember what we gave her the first time. Let's say 64 votes. So save, and then we can update this. And there are Sinead's votes. Becky still only 5.8%, not great. But that's the deal. Let's go ahead and mark this as final. And then we'll go and we'll save this asset. And let's refresh. And there you can see that our 3 winners are marked, Brad, Phil, and Betsy, with the green check marks. And notice that our candidates are now reordered in the order of the votes that they got. So we can see them listed out that way. And this is a completed race. So very, very straightforward, very simple to use. Let's go ahead and go back. We'll go ahead and save and close that race. And then let's go ahead, just hit reset here. And then let's go ahead and create another one. So another race, and let's do something different this time. We're going to make this a referendum. So there's our super awesome referendum. You'll be able to see here, we'll do a paste as plain text, drop in the description. So should discretionary spending be used to add a fountain soda machine to the break room at BLOX HQ? And I think we all know the answer to that, but let's go through the referendum anyway. We'll add our different options here. So add, our first option is going to be yes. And then we'll add the actual description of what their vote is. And we don't have to add an image here, but let's go ahead and add the green check mark for yes. And then let's do save and close. And then let's go ahead and add the no, which no one's going to vote for, but that's okay. We'll do no. And then the description of what they're actually voting for. Again, let's add a preview image of a red X for no. And then let's add our section tag here. And again, we'll just use our default election results section tag. But if you remember, we did not add a section tag to that first option, to the yes option. Let's go take a look at that real quick. Notice that that section tag is already there. So we talked in the beginning about how if you were going to add a party affiliation, you could do it through a section tag, but you don't have to add a section tag if you're not adding a party. Election Stats comes with its own default section tag, which will apply to assets unless you override that with something different. So moving forward, we won't worry about adding a section tag. So we'll go ahead and cancel out of that. Oh, there we go. Forgot about those required fields. You can see them up at the top there. They even say required. Election year 2024 and election level for this one. I think we'll just choose other. Let's hit save. And then let's preview this. Here we go. So here it is. Blocksville Prop 1, should discretionary spending be used for the fountain soda machine? And there are our options. Let's go add some votes. Clearly, I think 100 votes for yes. And maybe Brad votes no. No, Brad even says yes. So no votes for no. Hit save. Mark it as final. And then let's go take a look at that preview and see what that looks like completed. So there we go. It's marked as final, green check mark, all good. So let's save and close this. And then we're going to go take a look at our election results page and notice that now, instead of just seeing the mayor of Blocksville race, we see all of the races that we've added. So there they are, along with all of our ad positions. And I want you to notice, you may choose to have separate blocks for separate races. Maybe there's a special race that gets its own individual block, right? But you also may choose to group all of your races together for city, county, whatever. At the top of the block, there's a search panel. And anyone that's looking for a specific candidate or race can start to type that in there, and it will filter and only show the races that that candidate is involved in, or that if you search for the name of the race, only that specific race. So let's go ahead and type, we'll start typing in Ward here, and it will show us the race that Brad is a part of. So there's that, and when we clear that out of there, we get all of the races again. So very easy to use, very easy to work through. Now let's take a look at this mayor of Blocksville race, the one we looked at the very beginning. And both of the candidates, myself and Tony Bangert, who's our CRO, and Tony, I don't want you to be hurt by this, but you did lose this election. But you'll notice that we're both yellow, right? We're both marked as independent. So let's go ahead and change that and take a look at what it looks like when we add some different party affiliation to one of the candidates. So let's open this up, and let's open my candidate profile. And you can see that there's a section tag for independent. Let's go ahead and add. Let's go to news, politics, elections, party. Now, again, the section can be anywhere. It's however you decide to set it up. But let's add the Democrat section tag, remove independent, save and close. And now when we preview this, you'll notice that the color associated with my name is blue. If we had chose Republican, it would be red, right? So there's that. And if you hover over my name, it's going to say Democratic Party. And when you click on it and it goes to my profile, you can see that I'm labeled as a Democrat there. So let's go back in here. Let's go ahead and save and close that. And now I'm going to show you some cool things that Phil alluded to, right? How can we use these election stats assets in the other content that we have on the platform? So let's go to editorial assets. And here is the article for the mayor of Blocksville race. And let's go ahead and view that. We'll do a preview. And you can see this is a very serious issue. And there is the issue, the soda machine. That's it. It's the only issue. But so here's an article about it. How can we dress this up? Also notice the ad positions that are there so we can monetize this. Well, let's go ahead and open this up. Again, we'll expand this out for a little more real estate. We're going to go to related assets where we would normally tie images or whatever. And we're going to go to election stats. And let's select the actual race itself. So now you can see that's a child asset. We can drag that in line just like any other child asset. And let's do some display on it. Let's choose center, 2/3 width. Hit apply. Save, and then let's go refresh our preview. And you're going to see this race at the bottom of the article. Now, it's a completed race, but imagine if it wasn't. Every article that we had leading up to this race, you could have the actual race asset at the bottom. And as we know from when we looked at this before, if you were click on either one of these candidates, it takes you to their candidate profile. But what if we didn't want to have to click on, we wanted to make it a little easier for the reader. Let's go back to related, back to election assets, or election stats rather. And let's add the profiles for myself and Tony directly into the story. So here we go. Let's take Tony's and we'll drag it over and we'll add it right under his name. We'll do left align with 1/3 width. And then let's do the same for mine. There we go. Left align, 1/3 width. And then let's go ahead and save that. And then let's look at the preview. So we refresh that. And there are the candidate profiles right there in the article, right? It looks a little wonky with those ad previews, but pay attention to those ad previews because that just calls out all the different places that you can monetize this type of content, just like anywhere else on the BLOX platform. So let's go ahead and take a look at the live view of that article so what you can see what it looks like. Also, banner ad at the top. Let's scroll down. So there it is. That's what this looks like. And that's how easy it is to add those election stats assets to an article. If we click on that ad, it brings us right to the election results page. And there we go. There are all of the races that we added today, all of the completed races on our election results page. And it really couldn't be simpler.
Awesome. That was excellent.
Yeah.
And again, I want to make sure that I repeat, I know I mentioned this before earlier, we do have documentation on this new BLOX University page. We have Dave who actually goes into even deeper of a dive when it comes to setting this up. And we do have an implementation process to ensure that if you're interested, we would get this up and running as quickly as possible, ensuring that all of this information is accessed and transferred to you all. That way you can immediately get running with any of this platform as quickly as possible. We want you to have a successful year. We do believe there's going to be a lot of traffic this year to your site, and we do strongly believe that you can monetize this platform and augment your content with even further with graphs and the elections data platform that we are happy to provide you all with. I think we're going to take it to questions. Aaron, I'll defer to you here.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, for that great walkthrough, and Phil for the introduction. We do have some questions flowing in. The first one is about feeds. So Phil, you kind of touched on feeds in the platform. Dave showed how easy it was to set these races up manually, but can you tell us a little bit more about how feeds work?
Yeah, happy to. And Dave also touched on it while going through this demo too, but it bears repeating because it's really important. As you can see through Dave's demonstration, it was super simple to be able to set up these new candidate profiles, issues, and races, manually yourself. If you have something that comes up, it's a school board referendum, you could easily do this very quickly yourself if you wanted to. Anyone in a newsroom could be able to do this. However, if you already have and are working with the third-party vendors, such as we mentioned AP, News Ticker, or BTI, we've actually already developed pre-configured parsers to be able to get and ingest that data on a regular basis. It's just a matter of fact, it's just a job in our system, but it does contact and work directly with those providers, ensuring a handshake between those and that there's continuous updates to these races and these candidate profiles as races approach. So generally it's about like a 2-week lead time before a race begins. We'll work with the vendor, set it up and make sure that data is flowing in and that we're receiving updates. But it is absolutely essential that we have and establish these 2 or these 3 parsers for you all to make sure, because these are most common that we've come across. But as you know, we talk about it with you all. If there are additional items and parsers that you would like to be able to work with, we would explore those absolutely down the road. These were absolutely the 3 that we knew as being the kind of top priority and most common with among our partners. Does that address that question? I hope it does, Aaron.
Yeah, no, thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
Next question, is there a way to manually update multiple races at the same time?
So batch edit is something that we do actually support within this platform. Certain things that you might want to add, if it's a keyword, you would certainly be able to select multiple races or even candidate profiles and add and batch edit any one of those to make sure that you have a keyword. If you have a block that's designed to pull in specific candidate profiles or races based on a keyword, you'd be able to batch edit those, apply those keywords very, very quickly, and then even configure the block to only say we only want races that have this particular keyword applied. So that's, again, just an efficiency play here to make sure that your lives and your staff's lives are a lot easier when it comes to being able to manipulate and change these assets on a dime.
Okay. Our question came in about the recording. Yes, the recording of this meeting will be posted and we will send that out to the list once it's available. It should be available before the end of the week. A question about, how about a news story about the race or multiple stories? Can you link these election assets to news stories? Dave, I think you touched on that a little bit in your demo, but do you guys want to expand on that?
I'll let Dave talk too, but that is, again, the power of BLOX CMS is the integration capabilities that we have. So whether it's you being able to relate an election asset race candidate profile directly to a story, or being able to relate a business profile to a story, all of that is just within the ecosystem, makes it so much easier to be able to tell your stories. We don't want any one thing to be not forgotten or not being able to be supported within telling your stories. We're really, again, proud of the integration that comes along with the platform there when it comes with that races being able to add to stories.
So something I'll add real quick. So in the demo, I showed how you could add election stats assets to an existing article. But one of the things that happens automatically when you do that, right, is, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here for just a second. Is that okay, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me share my screen for just a second. Just to kind of show what I'm talking about. So this is the from the election results page. If we click on the mayor of Blocksville race, so because that's associated with a story, we can see this down here. It automatically shows up in this as featured on area on the page. So any other article or asset that this race was a part of would show up here. So any coverage that you have for this race would show here, and I think that might address the thing that you're looking for there.
Thanks, Dave.
Stop sharing there.
Another question about CSV. So CSV imports. Are CSV imports just for setting up races and candidates, or can they be used to update races in one fell swoop on election night?
So that's a great question. It is to create right now. However, we are in active development and we anticipate it being available by early June. The ability for your staff, whether they're remote or they're in the field, to be able to easily update a spreadsheet based on these update totals in the field, so that there is no loss. They don't have to actually upload or go into the admin to manipulate these scores. They would be actually be able to do that via a sheet. So we're excited about that because it just means even more efficiency for you all and anyone else in your staff to be able to update these totals very, very quickly wherever they're at. So that is something that we are working on, but it'd be awfully simple if that you would be able to have a sheet, you update the total race totals, and then a job is configured to just pull those race numbers and update the totals there. I think we have it very, it's a relatively quick process for you to be able to update those totals. But yeah, that's certainly one of those other options that we're well aware of. The CSV option right now within the admin is the ability to obviously create candidate profiles and issues if you wanted to do that. But now it's just a matter of making sure that you can update those totals very, very quickly.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that up.
A question just came in on the chat. If you've got 2 or 3 elections going on at the same time, different dates, what would that look like? And I'm assuming that we're talking about managing it manually. But yeah, what would that look like?
So really, it's about like the block queries. If you had a single page where all of your race results were presented, you'd be able to say, for certain date limits and restrictions. Else, if you didn't put any dates or restrictions, it would be all of your races populated there. And of course, there are other rules that you might want to pre-configure onto this. With batch editing, you would be able to batch edit all the races that are set in the future and say, we're actually going to not publish these until we're ready for this particular race. And then later down the road, when you're ready to publish, you just do the transfer. You would say, these races are done. We're going to remove them from the product of the public form. And then we're going to now publish these assets, and they're going to replace the ones that you've currently or previously had before. So you'd be able to rely on the block queries to be able to rely on set date parameters to ensure that they're only the applicable races that you want are actually serviced and shown for your readers.
This would be very similar to how you control content anywhere else on the BLOX site. Numerous ways to do it, but yeah, very easy.
Okay. Can you put election results on your homepage?
You would be able to put election results on your homepage. Yeah, these blocks that we have today with the race blocks that that Dave showed, or the candidate profiles, these would easily be able to be added directly to the homepage. So yeah, there's nothing to stop you there.
Okay. Okay, this question's a little detailed. Could you speak to how you would suggest stacking multiple seasons/years of elections? Would that be through sections, for example, 2024/spring/primary, 2024/fall/general?
That's, yeah.
I'll let you address that one first, and then there's a second part.
Yeah, I'll talk. Yeah, it's exactly how we would approach that. If you have different seasons, you could obviously rename the block itself to reflect what season it is if you wanted to have just a single page for everyone to go to, but there's nothing to stop you from pre-configuring your own certain subsections. If it's news, politics, local elections, fall 2024, you'd be able to do that, or presidential, you'd be able to create in your own sections and now add all of your blocks and races again to that one single page. That would be our recommendation if you were going to have multiple continuous new elections, to be able to create these separate sections or pages.
Okay.
So one addition to that, if I could, and I know I keep saying, can I share my screen just one more time to show something that I didn't show in the demo? Just
share away.
So in the in Design Blocks, which you're probably all familiar with, this is where you configure the actual page layout. The election results block, you have the ability to say, I only want to see races that have a display priority equal to or above or equal to or less than whatever. So as you add in these different races, if you just had a key for your display priority, then those races could automatically disappear from that block at the end of that season. New races would show up. You wouldn't actually have to do anything. It would have your live races there at the appropriate time based on the display priority that you added to those races. So it's very simple to manage. As Phil said, not to keep sharing my screen, but it is very easy to manage.
Share away, Dave. It's fine. No, we do feel like it's very in keeping with the rest of the BLOX ecosystem in terms of what you're able to manipulate and query to be able to create your new section pages. It's just one and the same. Now it's just being able to really use new graphics and races and polls to be able to help tell your stories even more so.
Now, Dave, if you have a couple of races that you want to update manually, you can actually open each of those race assets at the same time, can you not?
Yes, you absolutely can. It would be just like opening multiple articles at the same time in the admin, because assets are just assets. So yeah, you can open 2 of them and work on them at the same time. Absolutely.
Yeah, so as long as your screen's big enough, you could open a handful of several of them and be updating, moving from panel to panel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How does the general results page sort? For example, how would one set the priority of the results so a mayor's race is near the top, etc.?
So any of the display priority works there too. So you could have it set to we talked about not displaying any assets that are outside of a certain display range, but then you can also set it to display lowest at the top or highest at the top. So within that range, whatever the highest priority is, it would show first, or whatever the lowest priority is, it would show first, whatever your local preference is. But it's very easy to set it up. And then once it's set up, it just depends on what display priority number you add, and they'll show up in that order, always.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for all of the excellent questions here. If you have any more questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box. In the meantime, I will go ahead and share my screen. And again, thanks Dave and Phil for such a great walkthrough of this new platform. Folks, if you want to get started with the platform, please contact your sales representative. You can also visit bloxdigital.com/elections, and that'll take you directly to the product page for BLOX Elections Stats. If you have any questions about anything we've discussed here today, if you want to sign up for newsletters, please visit bloxdigital.com, and of course, follow us on LinkedIn. If you have tech questions about anything that we've discussed, please contact customer support at 800-293-9576 or support.bloxdigital.com. And you can learn a ton more. I mean, Dave did a great deep dive on it here today, but you can learn a ton more about BLOX Elections Stats at our new university site, our university training site, university.bloxdigital.com. So definitely check that out. That's something that we're actively building out right now, and we're going to have a lot more to say about in the very near future. But do go to BLOX University, and we'd love to hear what you think about how that's being built out. Anyway, Dave, Phil, any last thoughts before we wrap up for the day?
No,
not for me. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, please contact your sales representative to get started with BLOX Elections Stats. We'll see you again very soon.